It's a primary day in New Hampshire where Donald Trump and Nikki Haley are facing off in a one-on-one matchup. Let's head straight over to the state where Chris Casquejo, VOA correspondent, is standing by. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you, Dami.
Chris, despite the freezing, snowy weather conditions over there, a record number of voters are expected for New Hampshire's first-in-the-nation presidential primary. How are things looking where you are at now?
Well, the polls actually closed here in Manchester, New Hampshire, about 8 minutes ago at 7 p.m. local time after they had been open since 6 a.m., so 13 hours for voters to turn out. And the state's top election official expected that 322,000 registered voters would take part in this election, this primary election. And the weather that you were talking about, the snow that was forecast to hit, did not hit. It's expected to hit later tonight. And so we are just expecting the results to come in hopefully in the next couple of hours, but we're just going to wait it out here.
Right, but the Trump does appear to have a wide lead over Haley in New Hampshire's primary. But the question is how much? How big of a win by Trump are we expecting here?
Well, the most recent poll showed Trump up between 15 to 20%. Now, the challenge for Haley is to pull the upset, and pulling the upset for her would not mean winning, but cutting that margin to the single digits so that she can sell to voters in the upcoming primaries like South Carolina and the several primaries that are happening on Super Tuesday in March, that she's still a viable candidate in this race, and also sell to donors that are backing her that there is a pathway for somebody other than Trump to gain the nomination. There are only 22 delegates at stake here in New Hampshire of the 1,215 total required to capture the Republican nomination.
I see. Haley is really making her one last push in New Hampshire. In fact, she's really betting on the state. But I want to know how Haley may be able to pull off a victory there.
Well, she needs to run up the score with the so-called undeclared voters who make up about 40% of the electorate here in New Hampshire. That's about 344,000 voters. So she needs to do well with those college-educated voters and those that are more moderate in this state. And New Hampshire has been known to pull off surprises before. She actually secured the endorsement of popular former Governor John Sununu, whose son Chris Sununu is the current governor and a top Haley supporter.
Definitely. Now, with Ron DeSantis out of the race now, a clear majority of DeSantis supporters are turning to Trump as their next best option. That's going to further solidify Trump's lead in the race, isn't it?
Right. I mean, that's no surprise. DeSantis had run to the right of Trump on many policy positions, especially border security at the southern border with Mexico and also on abortion. So he was really positioning himself as the Trump alternative on policy, and Haley is positioning herself as the Trump alternative. And she was selling herself as the candidate of less chaos in the White House because she says that the Trump administration just brought endless chaos.
Right. Chris, before I let you go briefly, the Democratic situation this year is complicated, I have to point out, because Biden's name will not appear on the New Hampshire primary ballot. What does this mean? Could Biden still win the New Hampshire primary?
Yes, and he's expected to win the New Hampshire primary because there is a very active write-in campaign. But the issue is that the delegates that Biden would win if he won the primary as a write-in candidate, the DNC is not going to recognize. And that's because they decided to shift their primary calendar and start it in South Carolina in early February because they say that the electorate in South Carolina is more diverse and more reflective of the U.S. population. Dami?
All right. Thanks for the coverage today, Chris. We appreciate it.
Thank you.